Tom Stewart. Adelaide Oval's quite wild at the moment. This is Thursday Night Footy on Fox, brought to you by the new Ranger plug-in hybrid. That was a very special performance by the Cats, led by some of their most experienced stars.
It was, and we've got some Cats fans going off as they go past us, telling us all about it. This was a supreme readjustment from the Cats in the second half. Adelaide had things on their terms, and they narrowed that margin. We spoke about their late fight back in the second term that just narrowed the margin at halftime. But after halftime, their ability to close down what Adelaide were doing was spectacular. The pressure, the tackling, everything that they did just completely flipped the game on its head. And the way that, I mean, look at those numbers just to start with. And the average is around 175. So they were below average, competition average in the first half. And then they upped the ante. And the Crows weren't able to handle it, Joe. They couldn't transition in the second half.
Well, as we said, it was a low-pressure game at half-time, and then Chris Scott made some adjustments, and you've just touched on them, and we'll look at the numbers. But they got to work on their team defence, and they compressed the field. Their tackles started sticking. They turned the ball over through the middle of the ground, and then that's how the forwards were able to cash in off the back of it. But it was the work through the middle of the ground without the footy that was the most significant. And I thought their midfield was brilliant, and I thought Holmes and Bailey Smith were sensational. They kept them in it really at half-time, and then Atkins and the other boys got on board, and the rest all flowed from there. But there's the fourth quarter where they ran all over the top of it.
Well, it's those numbers from turnover. That's because every time the Crows went to transition out of defence, they were under the pump. They hurried the kick, they missed the target, and the Cats were waiting.
So 36 tackle attempts in the first half, they made 20. Second half, 55 tackle attempts, and they stuck 31 of them. They really just tightened the screws defensively, and Adelaide had nowhere to go. They went from 71 points at half-time kicking to 29 points Adelaide were able to kick in the second half.
Yeah, I look at the forward 50 for the Cats and their ability to win contest. So last week +7, this week +6. We said last week at +7 they hadn't had that for 5 years. They had 3 times in 5 years. I mean, Dangerfield has transformed this forward line. He plays with an anger, Jace, that just consumes everyone.
Yep.
Jeremy Cameron was unsighted for large parts of the first half, and he sees danger and he says, I've got to go. I've got to get involved. And then Henry lifts, and then Atkins lifts, and they laid some big tackles, but gee whiz, I thought their forward 50 was exceptional in that second half.
Well, they also had 5 tackles to zip inside their attacking 50, so the pressure began right where they wanted it to. But the way they adjusted behind the ball, Kingy, I found it Look, Taylor Walker looked dangerous early when Fogarty burst into it in the second term with his 4 goals. Phil Thorpe, a little bit here and there. The opportunities just dried up for him in the second half.
Yeah, they did. I think you've summed it up really well. I mean, their ability to close space, the Cats, and to get back first, to retreat first behind the ball. Every time they looked up the Crows, where they've been able to go fast in the first half, they had to second-guess themselves. And then a couple of them just had mare. I mean, Mitch Hinge had a mare by foot. He had patches in this game. We'd love his time over again, but they just looked like they didn't have the answers against this well-oiled defensive machine.
We've spoken about this with the Cats for a number of weeks now, King, and a number of years. When it's on, it is almost impenetrable. When it's off, it can sometimes look really ugly. And we almost saw a bit of both in this game from the first half compared to the second half. But it was a wonderful performance. And as Kingy said, Dangerfield's ability, not just to win contests, but just to impose himself in the game. He kept them in it early, won it late. It was a brilliant performance.
So they're going to enjoy this, I think. This is going to get wild down there.
Well, they should. In the Geelong ring. Jason, I'm not entirely sure Bailey Smith knows all the words to that song yet.
We looked at each other at the same time and went, Bailey Smith doesn't know the words. Hilarious. But you know what? He was a massive part. He was, because they're going to sing it often. He was a massive part of what they did, but this was just super impressive. They are a hell of a football club.
Joey, their ability to hang in there when they weren't playing super well. So in the first half, we've spoken about Adelaide's onslaught, their offensive juggernaut, but just those red time goals, a few opportunistic I think was the word you used, Kingy, in the call. They just were within striking distance so that when they got their game working, then they could put the foot down.
That's why they're such a good club. And really, a lot of it was centre bounce goals. We accommodated 4 centre bounce goals that really gave them a bit of that opportunity because, as we said, Adelaide were dominating sort of anything outside of the clearance and contest game in that first half, but they just did enough to give themselves some momentum. The best coach in the league went to work at half-time, made some adjustments. His players followed through, and they get a much-deserved win.
We don't want to look too far ahead, but we will for a minute. Easter Monday, Hawthorn and Geelong. Jason, get excited.
A lot to happen before we get to there, Sarah.
Not for the Cats. They can look forward instantly. We're going to head now to Max Holmes, who is down in the rooms right now, joining us on Fox Footy. Max, congratulations. Talk to us about that second half turnaround and how you guys were able to generate such a big momentum shift.
Yeah, I don't know. We've got a lot of belief for this club, and you know we know that Adelaide are a fantastic team on offense. They've shown that first 4 rounds of the year. We just knew that if we just stem that flow, we've got the ability to do the exact same thing to them. So we nailed down on that and really try to work on the defensive side of things. So it was really just defence into attack.
It was an incredible performance, Max. Personally, congratulations to you. You played a great game. But we sat here and just admired what unfolded in the second half. The lift in pressure, the quality of the tackling. But it just looked like the work rate to get numbers behind the ball, to press up and just give the Crows no outlet from their defensive 50, which they found pretty easily in the first half.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you look to our round 1 game, we did that pretty unbelievably, the pressure and the squeeze and all of that. So if you look to our 2 losses as well, we probably didn't do that as well as we could have. So I think it's pretty easy for us looking at it like that. And when we didn't do it well, we didn't win. So do it well and we really can turn around results.
Well played, Max. Brilliant performance, mate. Nice when you don't get tagged and you can run around and dominate. Just talk us through your role tonight, because you started at half-back. Was it the plan to stay there? Were you always going to go through the midfield? Just talk us about the conversations you had leading up into this game personally.
Honestly, I get told nothing going into games. I was
You look at the whiteboard.
Yeah, no, seriously. James Kelly comes up to me with 45 minutes before the game and goes, Max, you're starting on the half-back. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. And then we decided to scrap that for some reason. So, yeah, honestly, couldn't tell you, but I'm just happy to play wherever. I think they know that, so they don't mind throwing in a late one. It might have been because of Stewie and who else missed? Jack, so I'm not sure.
So regardless of what position you're playing, Max, you're covering an enormous amount of ground. Who has the bigger GPS numbers between yourself and the new recruit Bailey Smith? Because you both were running everywhere tonight.
Absolutely, Baz. When he first got to Geelong, we did a few off-season sessions, and he was telling me like, "Oh, I'm coming off my knee. I'm not that fit." We did a couple of fartleks together, and we'd go together for 95% of it, and the last 5% he'd go, stuff you, Max, and take off. So he's got me well and truly covered in that demand, but I've probably got the speed on him. Well, definitely got the speed on him, so I'll take that.
What's it like playing with Patrick Dangerfield? I mean, we've seen what he's done for years in the midfield and breaking from clearance, and the powerful athlete that he is. And now he's gone forward, and tonight he was just unbelievable. Yeah,
I absolutely love playing with him. He's a superstar of the game, and honestly, I don't know about you guys, but I wouldn't want to be playing on him in the back line, because like if you got Jezza down there, you got Scratch down there, you got Tyson down there. They're taking 3 prominent defenders, and then you got to deal with danger. So, God, he's a hard man to take on 1v1. So yeah, it was unbelievable tonight. He's been unbelievable all year. He's been really carrying us a bit.
Part of the reason Chris Scott's allowed to deploy danger in the forward line is the success of you and also the addition of Bailey Smith in the midfield. Do you feel like it's your midfield now to really take leadership, and do you feel that leadership? We're not entirely sure Bailey Smith knows the words to the club song too, so you might need to check in on that one with him.
You're kidding, it's a pretty basic song. I don't know how you couldn't know that. But yeah, it is a little bit, I guess, not my midfield, but a big bunch of us, and you know, it's changed a little bit from even 2 years ago. It's a much different group, and I think we looked at the edits of last year's game against Adelaide, and it was completely different centre bounce. First centre bounce of the game was completely different to this year. So we got young guys going through there. I've been loving seeing Nev get in there, and Jai Clark as well. Even I think maybe Ted went in there at the end. So yeah, in a sense, it's passed the mantle a little bit, but we still really love having danger in those centre bounces.
So what about the rest of Gather Round? How does it look for you, Max? We just heard Jeremy Cameron say he's going to stick around a bit. You guys will obviously do your recovery, but it's a good 10 days before the next game. Do you get a bit of time to unwind?
Yeah, we do. I'm out of here, though. I'm out of here tomorrow as soon as possible. I'm not going to Jack Higgins it, but it's great. It's a nice city, but I like home more.
Fair enough. You've done brilliantly tonight, Max. Congratulations on the win. Enjoy it and safe travels home.
Thanks, guys.
Such an important and crucial player for Geelong.
Can't get out quick enough, Sarah.
Oh,
He's a good chat, isn't he? He's a great chat.
He is indeed. And so important to the future and the chances of this team going very deep in September.
It is. And what about the rap he gave Bailey Smith in terms of his running ability? Because I thought he was one of the best runners in the competition. He said, Bailey's got me. He dead said got me.
He blew a couple up tonight. Yeah. I mean, they had to put, in the end, they had to go with both the kids on him.
That stands out. Yeah, they put the sub had to go and play on Bailey Smith.
You know,
he had the fresh legs.
You know, you've got a couple of wickets when that's the case.
Yeah, but there's a stat about Max Holmes and the impact he has when he's a top 5 rated player on the ground. Cats win 2 out of 3 games. When he's not, they win 40%. And again, we saw him lead from the front. He was brilliant along with Bailey Smith.
So it's two-sided, isn't it, really? If Holmes plays like that, you can leave Dangerfield forward. If he doesn't play like that, then you're tempted to throw him back in the midfield again.
Yeah, that's right. You need to pull the ripcord and put Danger back in the midfield to stem the tide, which we've seen already a couple of times this season. But if the midfield can hold their own, then you've got the luxury of just keeping the superstar forward.
And we discussed before the game how good Danger was last week, spending 71% of his time against the Demons up forward. And then again today, the fact that in one-on-one contests, he's going to win more than he loses, Joey.
Well, he's probably the greatest contest player that we've almost ever seen. This certainly in the modern era. And he was a guy that would always win 20-plus contests a week. Now he only needs to win 10 if they're all inside the forward half of the ground, and it score more damage and it helps the team. So, I mean, this is going to be his role. We've seen it now. As we said, he can always go into centre bounce and go in the midfield if they need him, but ideally he just does this.
And it doesn't matter if he's not taking marks, because as far as most of the gun forwards around the competition go, they're probably better in the air than they are on the ground. But this bloke is a jet, regardless of what state or condition the ball comes down in. He just imposes himself on the contest. Dropped that one deliberately so he didn't have to handball over the top to Jeremy Cameron. But he's so powerful. It's just the way he competes, and he holds his feet.
It's not even about the numbers, is it, John? I mean, it's just the authority in which he attacks the game, attacks the ball. In the end, they just didn't have a match-up for him. I mean, he's such a difficult opponent, isn't he? I don't know whether you take him on in the air or
would have a match-up for Danger. As he can mark it overhead, he's so strong. It'd be a hard match-up for a lot of teams.
Is it like the old days when Lee Matthews went forward or not, with different types of players?
Yeah, slightly different. He's bigger. He's more. He can play key position size. Where Lee just basically destroyed packs, and even though he wasn't a big key position type, but it's really interesting because now you're sort of sitting there saying, as a defence, do we want to put our best defender on Jeremy Cameron, or now we're going to move him over to Paddy Dangerfield?
Yeah,
and that might free up Jeremy Cameron.
Well, we're going to head to the man at the moment. He is alongside Eddie Betts. Ed,
what do you want?
Just down with Patrick Dangerfield in the room, guys. Absolute amazing game. Was it one of the best wins that you've experienced coming across here? 30 points down to get up to win like that was super.
It was, Ed. It was a terrific game of footy. Like, there was the ebbs and flows. It was high scoring. I mean, we'd prefer to restrict the opposition, but, you know, as a footy consumer, it's pretty epic. So to come away with the win was mighty.
How do you keep doing it? You keep throwing yourself into contest. Yeah, you're getting hit to the ground. You're getting back up. How is the body?
Body's feeling great, to be honest. So the last couple of years, I haven't been able to get through those first couple of weeks. And once you get through that sort of first couple, the first month, you start to feel a bit more bulletproof. And I've sort of got to that stage.
Bulletproof.
Touch wood.
I'll touch it with you.
And thank you. and yeah, it's. I think when it comes to the contest stuff, I reckon the harder you go, the less chance you've got of being injured, and that's always sort of been my philosophy. So, you know, they brought that +1 back, so it's like trying to bring it to ground. We feel like we've got a good ground ball game, and you know, creates opportunities.
Are you going to spend more time forward this year? We saw it today. You kicked 4 goals. Yeah, you're trying to take some pockets out here, but that's all right. But yeah, between the midfield and forward,
I'm my way to the front rather than you just sneaking in the pocket. Yeah, that's the plan. And it's little bits of mid here and there, but by and large, as you get older, you've got to, you know, protect yourself. And I feel like we've got some really young emerging midfielders that are more than capable, and they're earning their spot. You know, so the key for us this season is going to be the flexibility, being able to play multiple positions, and it's a long year. So we're only a quarter of the way through, and we've got to keep, you know, exposing new players. and being able to pivot throughout the season and you know, have players play in multiple positions.
And you speak of the midfield, Bailey Smith came across this year, absolutely dominated tonight. 35 disposals. It was a great addition.
Yeah, I mean, his running capacity is enormous. He's a ruthless competitor. Brings a great energy to the group, and he's been a wonderful addition for us. And I feel like it's been a really mutual, beneficial relationship. And yeah, he's such a driving force in the transition game, which we know is such an important part of the game.
And lastly, I asked Jez out on the ground. I know he's a big fisherman. You're back over in South Australia. You spent a lot of time here.
Yes, yep.
You know what it's like, and you love your fishing. Are you staying around, or are you going back to Moggs?
No, definitely staying around. I'll catch up with my host family over the next couple of days, and they're like family to me. So yeah, I'll really embrace the gather round for what it is, and it's a great showcase of not only footy, but I think more importantly the state. You know, there's so many incredible places, and it's more than just, in my opinion, more than just wineries. You know, there's so much great here to enjoy, and I think it's a wonderful showcase.
Well done, old boy. Great game. Super effort.
Thanks, Ed.